Good morning, everyone. I tried to do this last night, and I was talking to myself. I go through StreamYard. I go through StreamYard, so once I'm in, that way, like I can stream to multiple places. I probably have my man voice. It's really early this morning, but I'm able to stream to multiple places, so you have to add yourself to the screen once you're in. And I had Parker's picture pulled up so I couldn't see, my sound wave coming out there. Woo! Um, I did not know, and I'm currently trying to figure out how to do this and pay attention to the comments. So nobody could hear me for about 30 minutes straight. I was updating everybody. We have lots of new information since the first video came out, and nobody could hear me. So I'm very sorry. I went around apologizing to everybody. They tried to let me know in the comments, and like I said, I just didn't see it in time. So here we are doing a redo. Um, Before we get started here, I just want to share into the page so that way people know that I'm live. Before we get started, I know everybody wants to know names, so that way people know that I'm live. Sorry, there's an echo. And trust me, I want to put these horrible people on blast too. We are very certain that we have a very good general idea of what happened to Parker. And I very much want those people to pay for what they did. The family, it is a very real realization for them that, they might not get Parker back the way that they hoped. And, I would say there was a lack of investigation, but I want to go even further and say there was no investigation. So they had to figure that out on their own. And can you imagine being the one to hear the whispers in the streets and of your loved one? It's just horrible, horrible, horrible. I can't imagine. The next thing I want to clear up is we do have a new missing flyer, and we put Jeff. That's Parker's father. He did. Somebody brought up, there's not really any contact information for him. I am getting a hold of him to see if he would be comfortable putting his number on there. Some families are, some families aren't. But until then, if you have any important information, you can search his name, Jeff Miles, and this is the profile picture that he has of Parker. This is the very one. So until we get that figured out, that would be the best way to search him. Or you could reach out to me and I can reach out to him. Either way you feel comfortable, especially, if you don't, we're just trying to create avenues if people don't want their name out there. But yes, this is Jeff's Facebook profile picture that he has of Parker. So an easy way to find him for now. So I want to start out by talking about we want to give the investigators in Crossville, Tennessee, that sat on their asses and did nothing a chance. Now that all the information is out, now that they know that, we are going to talk about this, it should have been talked about like this a long time ago. His face is going to be everywhere. There's talk that, there are people printing off this very flyer. And in the other video, I said, put it on black. His face should be everywhere. Those damn detectives should be eating their breakfast and go to look out their window and see Parker's face at this point. And that's how I feel. So anybody out there that would want to print this flyer off and do that in the Crossville, Cumberland community would be amazing. So and send pictures. I would love to see that happening in the community. I would absolutely love to see that happening so that I can show, just further, just say, here we are, and we're not going away. So there's a lot of information that and by the time I'm done here, you guys will know just about everything that we can tell. And I hope people start making those connections. I've had an amazing amount of reach out. just even simply making me aware of the feel of the community, and out of everybody speaking, they're just tired of people getting away, this happening, and people that shouldn't be getting away with stuff, they just feel the local department just turns the other cheek. Well, I'm very good at pissing people off and stirring the pot, and that's all we want to do right now is just make those people that are comfortable feel really uncomfortable. So when we were in the first video, um, we talked about the two gunmen, gunman A and gunman B. Since then, we've narrowed down and got a little bit more information on these things. So we're going to take it back a little bit to September 28th, 2018. On this day, Parker goes out to see his dad, and he brings a friend along with him. They go out there, and this is when they first realized that Parker had been held at gunpoint by gunman A and gunman B. He really, everybody has been very honest in the information and the questions I asked. He said Parker was held up at gunpoint. The whole deal was that they were trying to strong arm Parker into giving over the title of his, around about 2004 Kia Spectrum. It was dark brown, and the title was in Parker's name. Word is, Parker was over his head, yes. And he owed a local drug dealer who was also gunman A's girlfriend some money. They want to say that it was like $10,000-$15,000. The people closest to Parker say that is just grossly exaggerated. When he was out, asking for his father, he's like, I want to protect myself. Can you help me? And, his dad was like, Parker, it's not worth it. It's not worth sitting in jail. Just let him have the car. I will get you a new car. It's not that big of a deal. So no, nothing ever came of as far as retaliation. It was all just argumentative from what I see after that. So that is when initially, that was the first tip that Parker's family gave investigators when they reported him missing. They knew all of this. So that's what boggles my mind so much about this. Now, we don't believe gunman A and gunman B are directly, like, physically involved in Parker's disappearance, but it's very obvious that. And to me, this is kind of the catalyst. This argument is what snowballed and started this whole effect. And and especially at the time, it was a very important piece of information that the investigators could have followed up on. And that's the impression that they gave Parker's family. So, yeah, September 28th, Parker goes out with a friend, and while he's out there with his dad and this friend, he is actually on the phone with gunman A, and they're actually kind of having a little argument about it. He's trying to really rip him off for around $300 in the title. And I just believe it's just something Parker didn't want to do in the first place. He was just kind of being bullied or strong-armed into doing this, because he really fought it. And so they have this whole dispute, and it's alleged that during that time, gunman A had Parker's car locked up at his house. So again, investigators knew all of this when it all came out. So we know that in the flyer that they did put out, for the LA did first put out, said that he was missing on October 1st, which we know is a lie, because after the incident on September 28th, Parker's dad did say that he's seen him again for a short period of time. This is around the time where he really tried to get Parker to stay home. Excuse me. Stay home and go to rehab. They were waiting on a spot to open up with him, and he chose to leave again. And I can not imagine how unbearably hard that could be for Parker's dad, to be one of the last times I've seen him reaching out for help. And, for whatever reason, Parker just was not ready, it seemed. And that could, I could see where, that could be very hard on Parker's family. Um, so we know that he's seen him a time after the 28th. But what's more important is Parker was locked up in Cumberland County on October 9th. So we know that the October 1st was a lie. Um, so we took the time to correct it. Investigators knew that he was last seen on Webb Avenue, and they didn't care to include any right information in that flyer. So October 9th, he was in uh, in jail for a night. He just had a probation violation. There was a little dispute. I checked it out and confirmed it. Yeah, that's all it was. Um, we know for sure that he stayed at least one night at a Bread of Life. It's a shelter um, around the corner of Webb Avenue. Actually, it's within like 12-minute walking distance. It's a few blocks away. We know he was there for at least a night. He came in with a girl. I would really love to know who that was, just to corroborate all of this. The more people that put him in places, the better. And then after that, it kind of gets, his last time seen was October 20th on Webb Avenue. A friend of his seen him walking down the road with an older man. I would really love to talk to her, because we would really love to try to figure out who that older man was. We have never been able to figure it out. So they figured out that the last time that Parker was seen was on the 20th. And that's when that very same day, there was a friend that reached out to the family, and they hadn't seen Parker, and they were wondering where Parker was. And they kind of revealed some very disturbing details of what he had heard happened to Parker. And, they took all of this to the investigators that same day. Investigators met them with pretty much a push off. First of all, they told them, not to really make it known in the community. Everything's done on Facebook. They put out that bullshit flyer. Sorry. And they really told them to downplay. And I've had a lot of people reach out and say, well, I would have posted flyers anyways. But you have to understand, like, as much as we know that there's corruption and things get away with everything, in situations like this, when you go to those investigators, they are the professionals, and they are putting all their trust in these investigators. So when they say something, you want to listen to them. They have reason. You want to believe that they're telling you to suppress this because they have a very good lead that they want to follow, and they don't want anybody to be alerted. That's what I would have been thinking. And I can imagine that somewhere in between there, Parker's family was feeling the same. So they really trusted them. And, when they mentioned the drug dealer involvement, they told them, oh, she moved across town. Like that had any relevance to the situation at all. When I heard that, my immediate response was, okay, so get off your ass and go across town and talk to her. I don't understand that, and I would really like them to ask or answer that for me. Why would you not tell a family to go out there and tell people that their loved one is missing? Why would you tell them pretty much, oh, she moved across town, so we're good on that? It doesn't make sense. There's something going on there. So they knew this information for a year. Parker's family reached out to them. They wanted updates. Anybody in that situation can relate to them. It started off, they would answer, but, kind of shrug them off. Oh, Parker just went behind a tree and he overdosed. They were really insistent on anything but something very terrible happening to Parker. which is really crazy because I would really like to know what investigative skills they use to come to that conclusion. Because everything that we've seen, it doesn't come to that conclusion. And I'm asking myself, what are you doing in Crossville? What are you hiding? Who are you protecting? Because this is really I wouldn't say an open shut case, but if they would investigate it at all, they would know the same things that I know. So after a year, back and forth, cat and mouse, Parker's family had enough about 2019. That's when they kind of said, okay, we need to sit down and we need to talk about the things that we have learned in this past year. So when Parker's family received the phone call that first notified them that there was something wrong here and Parker was missing, the information that he relayed to them, Parker's family let investigators know this. Well, investigators said that he was cleared. We never said that there was direct involvement in his disappearance. We're saying that this person got this information from a very credible person. They found a name of this person. So when they went to go give this name to investigators, they had no idea who this name was. No clue. It was really then that Parker's family realized that nothing was being done, no matter what they were saying. If you don't know this, you're not doing shit. The amount of people that have reached out just to piece together the things that, the atmosphere of Crossville, they're just tired of it. And it breaks my heart because if this was investigated the way it should have been in the beginning, I can't imagine the amount of support Parker would have had. And the amount of tips coming in for him. It's ridiculous. So, they said that they put out flyers online, had a news broadcast. I would really like to find any information that the Ellie put out around the time of his disappearance, just to see what they were saying. I'm very curious. So if anybody has that, send it my way. I would love to see that. So after the video aired, the first video, we know that he was last seen on October 20th. During that time, we've had some information come in, and there was a time around the time of Parker's disappearance, which I really want to corroborate if this was before the 20th or after the 20th. It's very important because if it was after the 20th, that puts Parker alive and well for a few more days. And that's very important to narrow it down. So we had to reach out, and they say, Parker stayed with this couple. This is not gunman A and dealer couple. This is a totally different couple. He stayed there for a few days around his disappearance. There was talk that night that Parker had ripped some guy off that night. And he went to meet him at Obed Park. Now, this is, since information has come in, I've kind of learned a little bit about Webb Avenue and the surroundings. And, many would refer to it as like Drug Alley, the drug road, and which is crazy because it's right around the corner from the local PD station. Just saying. And Obed would be like this beautiful park that families could come to, but it's kind of overrun by the drug scene. So there was talk that he went to go meet somebody at that park that night. And like I said, I really want to know those days. It's very important. So when Parker left to go meet this guy, the boyfriend that he was at the house that he was staying at left shortly after him. And when he came back, Parker did not come back. And that was the last time that they had seen Parker. So I really want to narrow down those days and figure out, very importantly, if it was after the 20th. Because then we change that date once again. And it's very important to know every single last day that he was not missing or alive. So yeah, that's one piece of information that we found out, and we would really like to know more about. I That is very important to me. So after Parker went missing, now this is an account by somebody who was there at the time that this argument was taking place. So in November, December, late November, early December, the argument about the car was still very much going on. And in the last video, I said Gunman B may have just been like muscle backup or whatever, but we're not so sure anymore, because when they were all arguing, Gunman A and Gunman B, there was a person in the room that heard this, and Gunman B came to get the car. He wanted the car. And excuse me, he was very, very pissed off to find that Gunman A was in the process or had already gotten rid of Parker's car. So very interesting piece of information, I feel. Because before that, we got word and there was talk of Gunman A running the car up to Michigan. So, you see, as we get more of these pieces, they are starting to corroborate each other very much. And we think we have a very, when Parker's family went to the investigators around 2019, they gave a very strong impression that this should no longer be a missing persons case. Excuse me. Let me take a drink real quick. This should no longer be a missing persons case. This should be a murder investigation. And again, it was shrugged off that Parker just went behind a tree and overdosed, which the outreach of people coming in and letting me know that is just absolutely ridiculous. Somebody would have found him by now. It's just not one person. And we don't think that anything happened at Obed Park. Because from what I see, it's just a very heavily populated area. It's a very wooded area. So we believe that, if that's where it all started, he was taken from that park and led somewhere else. There are a few locations that we won't, I don't want to put out there, but, investigators knew this. Investigators know all of this. And there was talk of a search happening at a different location. I would like to see proof of that. It was investigators, so I would assume that there would be paper trail of that. We're not even sure what that involved. Not as, obviously, they did not find Parker, but they're saying that there was, and we just don't know, and we don't trust them enough to know. So I would love to see any proof of that happening ever. So yeah, we know that there was an argument. We know that there was very still much talk into November, December. We know Parker stayed a few days with a couple right before he went missing, and there was talk of him ripping some guy off and him meeting him in Obed. When that boyfriend left, shortly after Parker did not return when the boyfriend returned, and that's the last time they seen him. We would like to know as much information on those two things. You guys, there are 7 to 8 people here, 4 in which we believe are directly involved or have direct knowledge, were there, where whatever happened. We have a pretty good idea of what happened. We know who you are, and I feel like some of them are going to be watching this. It's just time. It's almost been 4 years. It's time. We believe that of those 7 people or more, there are people out there that do have information, direct information, credible information, and they may be watching this. And, Parker's dad has a $20,000 reward, and, he's come to me, he says, we don't need to know names. And most families that talk to me say the same. They don't care. They just want to bring Parker home. We believe that there are a group of people out there that may have information. And he said, I don't care. We will divide it every way possible, just to get Parker home, just to get information to lead to an investigation, and more importantly, for people to be at least charges be brought and bring those people in and get justice for him. Um, so we are really just looking, we have a lot of information, and by the time we're done, it's who we trust to give it to is pretty damning information, and we just need somebody that we can trust. At this point, we feel like we have given Crossville investigators ample amount of time to do something, and it's very clear that they don't want to do anything. And at this time, it would probably be a good idea for them to step up and do something, even if it's just to save their own ass and make themselves look good at this point. Because I'm telling you right now, if you investigated any of this, you know all of this, and you did nothing. And that's very, very obvious. So I just want to point that out to you. The title that everybody was fighting over to get was later found. Now, remember back in September 28th, when Parker went out to his dad's, and it was first initially known that about the gunman holding him at gunpoint situation. There was a friend with him. This friend is no longer with us. It is said that he had committed suicide. Gunman A is no longer with us. Gunman B is currently incarcerated, the last that I checked. And so is the boyfriend of the couple that he stayed with in those few days around the time that he disappeared. I believe from last I seen, he was also locked up. But a few people in this investigation has passed and are no longer with us, and that just brings more pressure on to figuring out what happened to Parker. So the title, after the friend that went out to his dad's house with him that day on the 28th of September had passed. After he passed, his girlfriend was looking in, cleaning out of his car, and it is alleged, which I would love to cooperate and confirm, that Parker's title was in that glove box. I would love for them to tell me whatever happened to that title and come talk to me and confirm all of this. And now thinking about it, we're not sure if Parker's friend that came out with him that day was trying to help him, or actually was he involved in trying to get Parker's car. So I would really like to clear up why that title would have been in his glove box. So yeah, there are three pieces of information here that are still lingering that we would like to know about. And I think that is everything that we know that we can give. Like I said, there are 7 to 8 people with direct knowledge or direct involvement in what happened to Parker. 7 people that officers and investigators could have started out with. One very good, incredible lead that could have led to everything that we know now. And they did nothing. And they're still doing nothing. And we need somebody, preferably outside of Crossville, preferably, if you ask me, outside of Tennessee, to come take a look at everything. Because, like I said, it's pretty damning. And we need somebody to really come take a look and start investigating these leads and these people. Because trust and believe, if nothing gets done, we hear you. At this point, names would be very helpful in putting all of this information out there for everybody in order. But like I said in the beginning, we just want to give the families enough time, or the investigators enough time to get off of their asses We want them to see these videos. We want you guys to talk about Parker. We want them to see Parker. We want them to know that either pony up or we're going to keep talking. And there is a plan B. You know, with the drug dealer alone, this girl gets away with everything from what I hear. She is linked to other questionable cases around Crossville. And for some reason, her indiscretions just go unmonitored, unnoticed, or they turn the cheek. There is word that she may be paying off some local Cumberland County sheriffs. And when I threw that out there was a few names that came up as a possibility. We will explore that and exploit it if we have to. We have many areas still that we could go. And, you know, even giving all that information and putting all that dirty laundry out there, we still have pieces of the investigation that we won't release to the public because we are saving that information for that one person that comes in and says, let's do something about this. And we feel, you know, that information just needs to be known by the people that are going to be investigating Parker's disappearance. So that is all we know at this point. I'm very much hoping that after this video, we get even more outreach, even more people coming in and say, you know, I remember that. I think that, you know, I was around. I think I remember the dates that you're talking about and trying to figure out anything. I really would like to put the last month of Parker being seen, being alive, in a nice timeline, because I think that will further paint a picture of the things that went down before he disappeared. So yeah, the last month, pretty much when the car title situation started, I want to start from there until we run it to the ground. So yeah, that's what we want to do. That's our goal for this, is just for them to know we're not backing down, and we have plenty of more to say. So come tell me to shut up and do your damn job, and I will gladly do so. If not, you guys, I hope the next time you see me, we will have some very good news, very important information, and be able to tell you a lot more. But until then, this is Ash with TC Spotlight. Till I see you again, you guys stay safe and you guys have a good day.